back and welcome to my October wrap-up. Yeah, in sort of summary, October was okay. I didn't get everything read that I wanted to read. So the books that I shared on my October TBR, which if you haven't seen it, I will link it up here. I didn't get to all of them, but that's okay. And I read some things that I didn't expect to read. And I read some things in different ways than I expected to read them as well. So yeah, let's get straight on with it. I read 2 ebooks this month, which I was only intending on reading 3, so that's not too bad, the fact that I got both of those finished. The first one of those was Snowflakes and Cinnamon Swirls at the Winter Wonderland, which, as predicted, has the foil on the cover. I got this copy just after I filmed my last book haul, actually, otherwise it would have been in that, but it is beautiful. I have reviewed it on my blog already, which as always is linked below. And then I also read The Mother of All Christmases by Millie Johnson, which comes out in the UK on the 15th of November. So keep an eye out on my blog and possibly on here for a review of that very, very soon. It was a long one, but I really enjoyed it, and it was nice having those 2 slightly Christmassy reads, although The Mother of All Christmases did make me cry quite extensively. But yeah, then on to physical books that I read. I read this proof copy of Paperback Crush, which is the totally radical history of 80s and 90s teen fiction, and I absolutely loved this. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen me talking about it on there because I was just so into it, and it's what kind of inspired my little reread of the Judy Blume novels that I made a video about, which I'll link up here if you haven't seen that. I have also reviewed this one on my blog, so click on that link below and you'll be able to see my thoughts on this one, but I really, really recommend it. I'm not sure what the finished copy looks like because this is a proof copy, and this came out on I want to say it was the 1st of October, but that seems wrong. This came out in the last month. And I really enjoyed it. It's from QuirkBooks. It's non-fiction. I do have a non-fiction reads video coming up soon, which ties in with non-fiction November, which forms part of my November TBR, so that'll be in the next video. Then I read To Make Monsters of Girls by Amanda Lovelace, which I absolutely loved. Again, talked about this on social media. I've reviewed it on the blog. I also have an IGTV video talking about this one, which highlights some of my favourite parts. So you can go to any of those places to hear more detailed thoughts on this one from me. Needless to say, I loved it, and yeah, I will just read anything that Amanda Lovelace writes because I think she's wonderful and her writing is wonderful, and I connect so deeply with it. Then I did a buddy read and read this book, which I have hauled fairly recently as well. I hauled a book and I read it quite quickly. What's up with that? I read Fashion Victim by Amina Akhtar, and again, I've done a good job this month. It matches my hair. I have already reviewed it on my blog, so if you want to know more detailed thoughts on this one, this is very, very dark. Everyone says that it is Devil Wears Prada meets American Psycho. Haven't read American Psycho, but it feels like a very dark and stabby Devil Wears Prada, and because it's set in the world of fashion, there's lots of kind of sarcasm and just bitchiness, and so that side of it was really good. It wasn't like I'm not raving about it, but I really enjoyed it. So yeah, so if you, I mean, the tagline is bitches get stitches, and that is quite literal. So yeah, if you like the darker side of things, but also like the world of fashion and sarky, bitchy colleagues, then this one will definitely be up your street. Then one of the library books that was on my TBR as well, you know, we're doing more for actual books that have been on the TBR so far. It's gonna go wrong from here. Was Folded Notes from High School, which I literally just finished reading. I predicted that this one was going to be quite a quick read because it takes the form of notes between 2 people, and so some of them are quite quick notes. However, I do feel like it dragged a little bit. this was very much a middle of the road read for me. I didn't feel like I was being pushed to keep reading and keep turning the pages because I cared about the characters and what happened to them. I enjoyed the format. I liked the notes back and forth, so you don't see absolutely everything that happens. You have to fill in some of the details for yourself, or you have to fill in some of the details because one character is asking another character about something that we didn't see happen, but they're asking him about it in a note. So I like that structure and the fact that you're left to kind of make some of it up for yourself. But it did drag a little bit for me, and it's left quite open-ended, which I quite like. But yeah, it was, I wanted to finish it, but I'm not like, oh, you have to go and read this. If you like the sound of the structure, then definitely pick it up. But if you're sort of hoping for a 90s sort of romance or drama, then not so much. And like I say, I had higher hopes for it. Then another one that I believe was on my October TBR, hope it was on my October TBR because I feel like I put it on there, and that's Aiti by Roxane Gay, which is a collection of short stories. This was actually her first collection of writing, and it has been updated and re-released. I think 2 stories were added to it, and it is it covers sort of what it's like to be Haitian and the Haitian American experience. So I feel like I learned a lot from this one. Obviously it's a dinky little book, but it still packs a punch. There's still a lot of depth and a lot of what's the word, substance to the writing, but because it's short stories, I could sort of dip in and out of it, but I ended up reading it from cover to cover in one sitting, which I didn't think I would do because it is quite heavy and substantial material, but because I was kind of learning as I was going along, I enjoyed reading this, so definitely recommend it. And I do love the foil on the cover as well. It's very nice. And then because I did that graphic novel last month, I was like, I'm going to try and pick up some more graphic novels, and so I have read one more, but I do have some that are going to be on my November TBR, so I do have other ones out the library, and I read Paper Girls Volume 1, which kind of felt like a bit of a throwback as well. It started going in one direction and then went in another direction, which I wasn't expecting, but I went with it, and I enjoyed it. So I have volumes 2, 3 and 4 out the library, and then another one that Bethany recommended that are probably going to be on my November TBR. But again, I read it in one sitting, which was nice. That's the nice thing about a graphic novel, is that you get the entire story in one sitting and it doesn't take up the whole day reading it. But yeah, and so now we're moving on to the biggest pile of books, which often happens, doesn't it? And that is the audiobooks. So I have, I think, physical copies of all of the audiobooks that I read this month, which seems a bit strange. I kind of didn't realise that I literally have physical copies of all of them. A couple of them were tactical decisions to download or buy the audiobooks so that I could fit it in, so that I could read it when I'm commuting and read it when I'm out and about, and not have to have the time to sit down and read it in its physical form or in Kindle form. But yeah, it's the bigger stack of books. So the first one was a very quick read, and I actually went to an event with this author, so this probably should have been in my book haul and wasn't. That was an oversight, but it is, I'd rather be reading The Delights and Dilemmas of the Reading Life by Anne Bogle. She has a wonderful podcast, which I have since found and listened to. Because it's gold, we're having some trouble with the lighting, and she also has a blog and is on Instagram, so you should definitely go and follow her. The event was at Book Bar here in Denver, which was really great, and this is such a great book. The audiobook was fantastic, and I know I'm going to revisit some of the essays in the physical book, and yeah, I got myself a little signed copy, because obviously I met her, which was wonderful. And yeah, I really enjoyed that. It might feature in my next non-fiction video. I haven't decided yet. Haven't decided if it's going to make it in there or not. And then probably, yeah, my favourite audiobook of the month, which was I think the first thing I listened to this month, and that is The Greatest Love Story Ever Told by Megan Mullally and Nick Offerman, which I absolutely love. I have reviewed this already. It's on the blog. I posted it on Instagram as well. And even though I did pre-order the audiobook, I think, I still went ahead and got the physical book because there are pictures in the physical book. And whenever I say there are pictures in the physical book, I can never then instantly pull up a picture. There's a picture there. And then, where's the pictures of the puzzles? There must be the puzzle pictures. Oh, this one is beautiful. And yeah, this was just fabulous and wonderful. If you are in any way interested in either of these people, then definitely listen to this book because it's really funny and really interesting as well. And I learnt some stuff at the same time and just had a jolly good time. It might be one that I actually re-listen to with somebody else on a road trip. And then I read Girl Squads, which was sent to me by QuirkBooks, 20 female friendships that changed history, and I'm going to show you again because it's just so beautiful, the gorgeous naked book of this one that kind of matches the hair and the lips in this case. The back is just the same as the front. It is the most beautiful book, and again I just decided to buy the audiobook of it because I wanted to fit it into my reading this month because I was desperate to read it, and realistically all that I was going to have time for was going to be books that I could listen to. So I bought the audiobook and listened to the audiobook. The audiobook is very good. The physical book I have also flicked through and read some of and has illustrations, and it's divided into athlete squads, artist squads, scientist squads, political and activist squads, and warrior squads. I would say probably my favourite section was the scientist squads, which features the Edinburgh Seven, the Women Scientists of Antarctica, and the West Area Computers, which you all know from Hidden Figures. And also I really enjoyed listening to the one about the Blue Stockings Society because I had not heard of them, and I think they sound wonderful. But yeah, this will definitely be included in my non-fiction video, so I will talk a little bit more about that one there. Then I listened to 2 middle grade novels that were very firmly on my October TBR, so we're sticking to it there. I listened to The Pants Project by Kat Clark, which I think was on my October and September TBRs, and this one is My Name is Liv, not Olivia. I'm not technically a girl. I'm transgender, which is a bit like being a transformer, only not quite as cool because I probably won't get to save the world one day. And this is literally about Liv wanting to wear pants to school, trousers to school, and being forced to wear a skirt because of the uniform policy, and then undertaking the Pants Project to change that and make things happen. And yeah, there's a lot of diversity in this novel as well, not just equal rights for wearing what you want to school, but a lot of other diversity as well, so that was really good. And then the other one that I read was The Speed of Life. I downloaded the audiobook of this one. What happens when the keeper of your most embarrassing secrets starts dating your dad? And interestingly, this one was divided into 2 parts, and I didn't realise it was divided into 2 parts. So when we were reaching the end of part 1, I felt like we were reaching the end of the book, and I thought maybe the timer on my audiobook was slightly wrong and we were reaching the end of the book, but then part 2 is almost like a separate thing altogether. So it is like you're getting 2 quite separate books but following the same character, like you're getting the first and second books in a series, I suppose. This one, ironically, the fact that it's called The Speed of Life didn't move that quickly. The Pants Project was definitely more of a quick read, even though the audiobooks were almost identical in length. But it was interesting and it was definitely eye-opening, and it deals with grief very well as well, and also parents kind of moving on and having new partners and blended families as well. And then I listened to Speak. This is the graphic novel of Speak, and I made a whole video talking about this book and meeting Laurie Hall Sanderson and all of that, so I will leave that linked up here so you can go away and see my thoughts on that one. And then finally, I thought I had reviewed this one on my blog, but apparently I didn't. And this one was a Book of the Month Club pick that I chose because I actually got to meet this author back in April, and then I downloaded the audiobook from the library, even though I have the physical book, and it is Cross Her Heart by Sarah Pinborough. It is a thriller, and I will say that some of the twists and turns I definitely didn't see coming. I think this book would be better read as a physical book or an ebook, so that you could kind of flick back and forth. So maybe a physical book, because it is harder to flick back and forth on an ebook, because I didn't always follow exactly what was going on and who we were speaking about and who we were dealing with, which I think is necessary for a thriller. But then maybe that's why I didn't see some of the things coming that happened, because I'd missed a detail or missed a person or missed a conversation somewhere along the way. But it was good, yeah. And like I say, it wasn't entirely predictable, which is always good for a thriller. There are too many thrillers out there that are formulaic and predictable, and this one wasn't, so that's good. But yeah, I would definitely recommend doing it as a physical book. This is the US hardcover. The UK cover, I believe, is blue. And not the UK hardcover, the UK paperback. And yeah, definitely recommend the physical book over the audiobook. So yeah, so on the whole, the books that I have shared with you there are ones that were on my October TBR. I didn't get to everything that was on my October TBR. Some of them are going to carry on in my November TBR, which will be the next video on this channel on Monday. So make sure you're subscribed so that that video lands in your subscription feed and you can see what I have left over and the other books that I want to read in the month of November, some of which you will recognise from my October book haul, I am sure. But yes, thank you very much for watching. Let me know in the comments what your favourite book that you read in October was. And I will see you with my next video on Monday. Bye.